Can you hear us, Mayor?
I was going to say, is anyone there? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can. Now I can see you too. That's great.
Okay.
Here, I can start a video. I don't know if you guys can see me. Probably don't want to see me. I'm in San Francisco, if you recognize the brick. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you know what? I didn't ask anyone to pray since I'm not there, but let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And looks like Dustin White, well, I know Dustin White and Councilman Allen has been asked to be excused tonight. And so we'll excuse them. Thank you for the rest of the council for being here tonight. And sorry I'm not able to be there in person. But we'll do as much as we possibly can. If I could, Audrey, would you be willing to give the prayer, and then Councilman Barrett, would you be willing to direct the meeting?
Mayor,
forward, yeah.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Councilwoman Goodrich gave the prayer last time. I'll be happy to do the prayer.
Oh, excellent. Yes, prayer, please.
And Councilman Barrett can lead us in the pledge. So.
Okay, that would be great. And then Councilman Barrett, I'll just defer to you to kind of chair the meeting, if you would be willing to do that.
Sure.
And then I'll just chime in when I have items that I need to present, if we can do that. So.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, grateful for this day, for the opportunity we have to gather citizens of Roosevelt City and as a city council. We're grateful for the citizens of Roosevelt and for the employees that help keep the city running. We're grateful for those that serve in the police and fire and EMTs that help keep us safe. We're grateful for this area we live in, the freedoms we enjoy, this beautiful city of Roosevelt. It's such a great place to live, and we're so grateful for all the people here. We're grateful for the many things we're able to do. We ask you to be with us this night. Bless us with thy spirit that we may make good decisions that will benefit the citizens of Roosevelt, that will continue carrying this city forward as we continue to move ahead. We're grateful to thee for the armed services and ask you to watch over and protect them, as well as all those that are serving in fire and police and EMTs that protect us. We're grateful to thee and love thee, and we say this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next agenda item would be approval of the previous minutes.
Mayor and Councilman Barrett, I didn't see any issues, so unless someone else saw something, I would move we approve.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next agenda item is we have public comment period. Each person has opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any city matter. And I think you can just get up to the podium there and speak into the microphone if you would like to speak. All right, we have one. State your name if you don't mind.
Yes. Preston Cadlick, Roosevelt's Park Rec Committee. I apologize. I meant to have my comment on the agenda. On the APR, we were approached by a private citizen who wanted to sell the city a baby grand piano. The arts were interested in this, and we were looking at other opportunities where recitals could be held at the library. When the library was approached, they didn't really have enough funds to purchase that piano at the time. And so Councilman Busenbark was present. We spoke about the city possibly purchasing that and then donating it to the library, where recitals can be held for the public and free of cost. Someone will probably want to get on the agenda next time. Councilor Bismarck, did you want to comment anything else on that?
No, I think, what was the cost they were looking at again? It was a baby grand for,
$1,000,000 for 5,500.
okay, and they think it would go well in one of those rooms where people meet, right as you walk in the library on the right there. And then they could have recitals, people could use it for practice or just have that available. The family that's selling it wants, or moving and are trying to avoid having to move that if they don't have to. And I just mentioned to the APR that if at least approach the council, we'd have to look at funds, and if we had discretionary or other available, we could look at that. If we don't, then obviously we couldn't. But at least I thought it'd be good for APR to approach. And so if we can, Sierra, maybe put this on the agenda next meeting, and then we can discuss it, look at our budget, et
What if some individuals want to contribute toward that?
That would be great, Hal. I think we definitely would take that. I think that would be awesome if we had some individuals. I'd be willing to donate as well. I think it's a good thing for the community to have something like that and to have it in our library where it would be secure but also be available for people to use. So,
I go there and I can talk to you.
so
We're becoming, if it's from the city, if it's on the agenda next time, I could come back with what are some preliminary prices of other baby grands, so the public is also aware of what we'd be purchasing. From what I understand and from what I've been able to look at so far, $5,500 for a baby grand is a really good price that they're giving us. So
Cool. Mayor?
Preston, just a question real quick. I'll raise my hand too on the screen so you know I want to talk, so I don't just interrupt.
I just don't know which one to choose to look at.
Preston, just curious, who would look at the piano just to make sure that it's in good condition? Do we have somebody that knows a little bit about those? And I'm sure it's probably decent condition, just want to make sure that we have somebody that knows a little bit about that if we're going to invest the money. And I'm with Hal and Don. I'm willing to participate and as a citizen just participate in that as well. So it might be something that we can fund outside of taxpayer money.
That'd be great. And I think Edwin knows someone who could help us with that.
well, I would say, based on the mayor's comment, if you could bring back some of the figures, but maybe get with Edwin and see if you can have someone go just check it and make sure that it's, in good shape, et cetera. If they'd be willing to do that before the next meeting if possible. If not, at least have it set up, we could do it contingent on that. And then, sounds like you've got some money already here without having to go through the city. So, but let's get you on the agenda and we can discuss it more.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Preston for bringing that up. Do we have any council appointments for tonight? I don't see any on the agenda. Okay.
There are committee appointments.
We do have committee appointments.
I thought we did have two, right?
Yes, there is 2 committee appointments.
We'll turn the time over to Mayor for this. You're on mute.
How's that?
That's
There you
better.
go. Okay. So 2 committee appointments to the Arts, Parks, and Rec Committee, and these 2 would be added to the Arts Subcommittee, and that would be Courtney Betts and Ashley Cooland. And so I would present those 2 names for the council for ratification for consent. And just a little background, Courtney Betts has just, I don't know, Courtney, are you there? She said she might come tonight. But she is now in charge of the farmers market, so she helps out in the community that way. Ashley Cooland is the new director at the Chamber of Commerce for Duchesne County, and so she's heavily involved as well. So it's good to have those 2 interested in the Arts, Parks, and Rec Committee, and I think they'll be a great addition. And so, unless there's any questions, would ask the council for their ratifying vote.
I think they're both good candidates. I would move we approve both of them unless someone has
Is this something, JR, that you would typically open up to the public for comment, or is this something we just do generally?
Not necessarily, it's just, basically how this works is the mayor, selects the candidates and then presents them for the council for approval, similar to any other appointments, so.
Okay. Do we have a motion? You have
A motion to approve both of them.
I'll
council.
second it.
All right, and we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Any other committee appointments, or guess we're done with that, okay. Public hearings, we have a recreational fee proposal. Dustin Glenn, will give the floor to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the time. We take a little bit to propose a couple of new fee schedules that we need to add. These couple of fee schedules we do not currently have. They will be new to our fee schedule. One of them is the pickleball courts for reservations, and also the basketball court. And also with the new sports complex, we need to do a food truck vendor fee. So let's just start off with the pickleball courts first and the basketball courts. I've been working with the APR on these prices. They actually proposed this same numbers a couple of months ago. And I've been able to do a little research myself and just to kind of verify that these numbers are good and legit. And I've been able to look throughout the state and they are pretty accurate. Just to give you a little information, the pickleball courts, it is proposed that for a single court, which is court 1 or 2, and 3, 4, and 5. That's interesting. You need to point that out. Courts 3, 4, and 5 will just be one court because they don't have any fences between them, so that needs to be a single court. It was proposed half day $30, full day $60, full facility reservation, all 5, half day $120, and full day $240. Basketball court, half day $25, and full day $50. Yeah.
For full facility, is that basketball and pickleball then? Or what is that?
No, that will just be for the pickleball court.
Okay.
Yeah, all 5 courts.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the basketball courts will be just the basketball court for half a day 25 and full day.
Yeah, sorry,
$50.
I was just reading that wrong.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And there was a few definitions and parameters that I think was important to discuss and to propose. A few things such as courts will be open to play unless reserved. Courts 1 and 2 will be reserved individually, and courts 3, 4, and 5 will be reserved as one court. Half-day court schedules are from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. The full-day court schedule is from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Courts will be available from March 1st to November 30th, weather permitting, and tournaments and reservations will be scheduled by Parks Director, and reservations must be 7 days in advance online or by person 24 hours in advance. And that's something that we would copy with how we handle the pavilion reservations. You have to do it 7 days in advance. We like to post the schedule first thing on Monday, and then it'll post a weekly schedule till Sunday. But of course, if something is available, people still can do it. And speaking with Jeremy Liberton and the APR, they requested that we do it if it's by person 24 hours in advance, so they know if they can play or not. So those are just kind of some proposals that we would like to discuss at this time.
Dustin, can they, on the reservations online, do they pay online or they
Yes.
just, okay.
Yeah, we can.
So they can take care of that all online? That's
Yeah.
great.
Same location you sign up for, it's a swimming pool or recreation. So if you have an account, it's really easy. It has a calendar of what's available and what's not available. If there's already a tournament reserved, that'll all be.
If someone comes and does the 24 in advance, does that get added to the calendar? If
It
it's-
will. Yeah, they'll have to go through me, and then if it's not already filled up, then I'll just go write it in because working with the APR, we're gonna have a little message board there, and we'll post it first thing on Monday. And then if it's within 24 hours, I'll write it in.
Okay.
Yeah, just so people can see, but 24 hours in advance is probably.
Where do you post that there at the pickleball or?
Right now, we don't have anywhere. Been working with the APR to purchase one. So we'll just post it somewhere where we think, whether it's on their building there that we have. We'll
Yeah, we
find
should get something to make it a little,
Yeah, we have a message board at the pavilions that works really good. We'll post
Right.
it right there in front of the pavilions, and that'll be the same idea, so.
yeah, Jeremy wanted to.
We have one already. We also have a shed we're getting put up to be more permanent and stable for what we have, where the one we have now
Okay.
is, and it'll mount on the side of that, right at the entrance,
Perfect.
and be
I just wanna make sure it's in
everything
a
you want.
secure place, so that
Yeah.
way people come, they know it's been reserved. and-
Glass front locks,
Perfect,
accessible.
yeah.
And then, really quickly, probably need to go to public hearing before, but just really quickly on the food truck vendor fees. This is for the sports complex. We are going to bring and make a request for food vendors. Now, it is proposed that we have for the rec leagues, for the daily games, and then we also have a tournament fee as well. So this, for the rec leagues, it'll be $50 per day, a max of 4 vendors. Vendors will be assigned a location. Vendors will be allowed to stay Monday through Thursday, max of 2 weeks. And after that, vendors will be rotated out because we just don't know how many people will want to go up there. And so if there's more than 4 that would like to go up there, we'll keep them on a 2-week cycle and then rotate them out, if that's what we need to do there. Vendors will need to pull vehicles out after parking trailer and setting up. This will be a Monday through Thursday, because most of the tournaments that happen up there are for Friday and Saturday, and that will be a different fee. Power available, no water or sewer connection, approval by Parks Director, and special fee waived by City Manager. And then just really quick, a few differences on the tournament fees. It's $100 per day versus $50 per day, just because on the tournaments, you have quite a few more teams, quite a few more people attending these events. But it'll still be a max of 4 vendors, assigned locations. Vendors will need to be cleaned up after themselves, and same thing with just the special fees waived by City Manager. So really the only difference is the tournament, they'll be allowed to stay Friday and Saturday, and it's $50 more, so.
Where are they gonna set up? In the parking lot, or are they gonna be able to set up in that?
No, actually, we'll unlock the gate. That'll actually let them go down onto the sports complex on the east side, west side, north side, and south side. We put some electrical pillars there, some plug-ins that they can plug right into it.
Okay.
And it's got plenty of room. That's one of the good things about that sports complex. We have a lot of room, and we made it just for food trailers and food trucks to come in.
That's what I thought. And what about the older sports? Would it be the same for those as well?
The old facility, we actually have the concession stand there, so I don't think we want to do food trucks there.
Okay.
That's up, we can discuss that for sure.
Okay. That was the only thing I was wondering about, because I knew we had talked about in the build making that large enough so that you could put trucks there, but
Yeah.
I was just wondering on the older part if
Yeah, well, for now, I think we'll just keep the concession stand.
would we want, or would we have any in the parking at all, or we try to avoid that so it allows patrons to park there?
I would say, yeah, keep it, especially on those tournaments. We have one coming up at the end of May, and it's just our parking lots are
Jammed,
They're
yeah.
jammed, you know. Maybe you could do during Monday through Thursday on the rec leagues. We could perhaps do that in the parking lot, but for tournaments, I wouldn't recommend.
I like that you have max of 4. I think that's probably better for now until we kind of get a feel for
Yeah,
things and not get too crazy, right?
exactly. And we'll know more about it after this year, and
Right.
then we can hold more than 4, but
So the fee only applies on days where there's games and things, activities going on in the park?
yeah. So during Monday through Thursday, it'll be $50, and tournaments, which happens on Friday and Saturday, will be $100.
Okay.
I move that we go into public hearing to discuss the court fees and food truck vendor fees.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now hear from the public. Anyone who'd like to speak on this is welcome to come up to the podium, state their name,
Central
and
Park,
share their thoughts.
those same fees for Central Park. Like wherever the tournament.
No one?
Seeing none.
I move we go back to regular session then.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're back in session. Entertain a motion.
Is this on the? Oh,
For the public hearing.
yeah, it's 9D. I was just double checking the notes. So I would move based on the recommendation of the APR and Dustin that we proceed with these fees and add them to our schedule. I think they've done the research and I feel pretty good about them. So I'd say we go ahead and move forward with them.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Back to you, Dustin, for the
Okay.
next agenda item.
All right, the next item up is, beginning of March, we put out a RFP, request for proposal to water the flowers on Main Street. And we had some really good applicants. It made it a tough decision. It didn't start like that when we first put it out. There was no interest at all. So it was a little bit of a panic, but we had 4 total applicants that put in for it. And met with Josh Bake and Ryan Claiborne, and they were our deciding committee, including myself. And we looked at each applicant and did the pros and cons and what we thought would be the best. And so tonight, we would like to propose a name to award Adrian and Kathy Walker to water the flowers on Main Street for $2,400 a month.
I have one question, and that's, is there an evaluation criteria that's spelled out in the RFP?
Yep.
And were they the best qualified based on those qualifications?
Yeah, here's the, right here.
The House of Hope didn't put in for it, did they?
No, they did not. There were some unique challenges that they faced that they didn't realize. I think they wanted to do it for multiple years, but just with their residents, if they were, just the situations that they were in, some of them weren't able to go out and water the flowers,
Right,
And so that put a lot of strain on the Thompson House of Hope employees.
right.
And so it caused them to fall behind with the other stuff that they were doing because they couldn't always send out their residents there. So
Okay.
it had many challenges and he just said, sorry, we can't do that anymore.
That's too bad. I thought they did a pretty good job
They
with
did.
what they had, so.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would do that for multiple years, but
And I remember Walker's put in last time too, so.
they did. And they were one of them that we really liked as well. And they put in a letter of intent, and here's their letter of intent. And I was really impressed with how they put their experience down and how they take pride in everything that they do, and also, that they have their own flowers that they take care of,
Yeah,
and that they're hardworking and dedicated. But I was just impressed, and it was a unanimous decision with Josh and Ryan as well, that we thought they would do good. But I don't know if you'd be interested in.
Oh, I looked at them all, and
Yeah.
they were definitely, they were the least expensive. If they bid last year, I think that's a fair reason
Yeah.
to consider them in addition to being the cheapest, and they've got the experience demonstrated. So I think that's probably a good decision.
I would move we go ahead and accept their bid or give them the bid. So,
Awesome.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And just for your information, those flowers will be out Memorial Day.
okay.
Cool. Thank you for doing that.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So okay. Cool. We've covered everything on this page.
We're on the
Actually,
school
we're on nice.
resource.
Okay, so we have Alan Tucker, with school resource contract discussion. Oh, Lieutenant Tucker, sorry about that.
Just a little background, for 20 years or so, the Roosevelt Police Department provided an SRO to the Duchesne County School District, and it was $20,000 for a full-time officer. 2 years ago, we decided we need to renegotiate that contract, so we started that process. We went through City Council and went through Duchesne County School District, and they agreed on $60,000. The contract went into effect on October 3rd of 2023. Yeah, where everything was voted on in the members' councils and all that stuff. A few days after the contract was approved, we provided a full-time officer to that school district for the whole rest of the year. And then it's been like that for the next year. We've had it recently. So the question is that we billed the Duchesne County School District, we billed for the 2022-2023 was the $20,000, and they paid that. We also billed for $60,000 starting for the 23-24, but they haven't paid that. And then we also billed for this coming year, 25-26, and they haven't paid that. So when I went and talked to the accountant of the school district, I guess, they were under the understanding that the contract wasn't signed, which it wasn't signed right at the time, but it has since been signed, and that they just wanted to pay the $20,000 for.
But have they paid the 20,000?
No,
So they haven't paid anything.
right. They paid the $20,000 for the 22-23 year, which was what it was. But the 23-24 year was negotiated at $60,000, and they want to pay 20. This minor scheme. So this is the discussion. We, as the office, really can't say if we'll accept 20,000 or not. City council.
I'd like to join you.
Absolutely.
So I was able to speak with Superintendent Young today. We were playing a little phone tag, and after speaking with him, our recommendation to council, as his request as well, is that we put this on our next council agenda. I'm gonna go meet with him with a lot of facts and details about what we did, when we did it, so we can get a lot of dates and a lot of specifics, so we can meet together and know exactly what was satisfied at what point. There's a misunderstanding of, at first we thought it was more about the signature of it. According to Superintendent Young, it's more about when the process started of us having a full-time SRO. So we want to gather some information, we can sit down and go over that. So ultimately today, what we're requesting is to inform council, keep you up to date of what we're working on, and let you know that I do have a meeting coming up with Superintendent Young, and I would love to invite Chief and Lieutenant Tucker to discuss these details with him, to show him when our officer started, just so we all understand when it officially started as the full-time, as living up to our contract.
And I would just point out, I have a conflict of interest, and given that I couldn't vote tonight, and we only have then 2 councils, so we really couldn't do anything. So I would move we put it on the agenda we table it tonight and put it on the agenda for next time, and hopefully we can resolve this. It's been kind of kicked down the road for a couple months, so I'm hoping we can get it done, but I won't be able to vote on it, and we would need a full council.
Okay, let's hear what Mayor has to say. He's got his hand up, so.
Yeah, my hand shot up there pretty quick. I'm just kidding. This is something that we made the same agreement. We made this agreement when we also negotiated the pool and the fees that the school would pay for the pool, and that hasn't been paid either. So I think it's something definitely that we need to discuss. I think next meeting would be great, but I think we also need to talk about the pool as well, because there are 2 years that have not been paid by the school district for their usage of the pool as well. So I think we just put those together and make sure that that's all taken care of all at once.
Thanks, Mayor.
I would also like to note that Mayor and Grant have been kept up to date on this as well, so they're very well informed, so we want to make sure we have all the facts for you. So, and Don has been great about keeping us updated here, and like I said, Superintendent Young, I was able to connect with him, so we're definitely not on the same page, but we feel we can be, well.
Yeah, I just think we
better
need,
prepared.
yeah, I just think we need to get together and talk and get it addressed. And I 100% agree. I think the mayor makes a good point. There's several issues that need to be addressed here. We need to get them resolved. I just want to get them done sooner than later and not keep kicking it down the road. That's why I'm hoping we can get this done. So anyway, I again move to table this till next time so that we can have time for them to meet and for us to have a full council to vote.
All right, we have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll pick this up next meeting. Thanks. Okay, our next agenda item, Roosevelt City benefit renewal. Brock Arnold's going to present that.
Hello. How are you guys?
Good to see you, Brock. We usually don't see you at these very often.
Well, I try to make my appearances special. You know how I like the stage. Normally we do benefit renewal with part of the budget process. But this year, PEHP has requested that we move that up a little bit. They're making some transitions internally with their software, and they're gonna be giving all of the members on those plans new ID numbers and new benefit cards, and doing a whole revamp to bring their system up to date and all that. And because of that, they need an extra month to get all of that in place once we choose to renew. So with that being said, I wanted to just show you really quickly. Can you go to the third page, Ryan? And if you want to zoom in a little bit. With our PEHP plan, they're quoting us about an 8% increase. And if you look down below that with the other carriers to get us even close, the next closest increase would be almost 12%. For a Blue Cross plan that's not comparable in anything with Regents or Select Health, that gets us closer to a 50% increase. So our cost savings with staying with PHP is quite substantial. The current industry average right now for insurance increases is about 14%, and we're almost half of that in how they're quoting us for our same plans and everything to remain the same, which is pretty great benefits for the city. So when you see the budget summaries later that Zeke and Josh are going to present, this 8% increase is included in that. So not a lot to say about the medical plan. With our dental plan, do you have any questions about medical? I'm sorry. Okay.
No, that's actually a good renewal.
It's a way good renewal.
Yeah.
We've been consistently 50% of almost what the nation is average with PEHP, and so we're super grateful for that. With our benefit plan, PEHP has been who we've had for dental and vision in the past, and we're going to talk about moving away from PEHP for that part. PEHP really just likes medical. They don't care a lot about the dental and vision. They do it to try to help the cities so that you just have one bill. But we've seen some drops. I've talked to a couple of employees this last week that have had their dentist drop them because they just don't want to work with PEHP anymore on the dental. And so the last quote down there for Renaissance, and Josh and I apologize when we talked about this before, I said Ameritas and I meant Renaissance. So if you're confused, it's because I said the wrong word. If we switch our dental and our vision to Renaissance, the dental will drop by 8%, and the vision, they'll match our current rate, but they'll also move us to a new carrier network that'll be better for the employees. Everything else is staying the same with our benefits. It doesn't, we have price locks on everything else, and so I'm just presenting these three things because the PEHP is the biggest portion of it, and then dental and vision, we'd be switching away from PEHP to somebody that has a little bit better care for us when it comes to coverages, networks, and costs. And they're willing to give us, this Renaissance is willing to give us 2 years of price, the same price, no price increase next year, then we revisit it in 2 years. Our benefit broker GBS printed out a summary for me that showed all the dentists, and there's more dentists available, there's more vision providers available, cost savings again on dental, and a price match on the vision.
So there's more dental in the area that would take Renaissance?
Locally and throughout the state, or if you're traveling. Our former vision provider was Opticare, and they went bankrupt last year. And so we had to make a quick change over to PEHP where they just let us get out mid-year. We didn't have time to do a lot of price shopping and negotiating at that point just because we were losing coverage and we had to do something. So again, we also had to switch from a VSP network to an iBed network, which isn't as robust. And so now going to the Renaissance, we'll go back to a VSP network, which will give better coverage again locally and nationally with places.
And the same with the eye?
Same with the eye, yep. So any questions about those benefits in particular? So because what I'm asking for from council tonight is a motion to approve that we move forward so that I can sign those documents or have Josh sign with PEHP and Renaissance to move forward with our benefit renewal before the budget is officially approved.
But it will come out of next year's.
It will come out of next year's budget, and again, when you see the budget numbers later, the 8% increase and all the current things that are in place for benefits are part of those numbers and those payroll allocations that we've already made.
Curious, so Josh, you've reviewed this and some of the other staff have, and everyone feels good about the change?
Yes, it's actually a little bit better for us here in Roosevelt.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I would move we approve then, based on the recommendation.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thanks, Brock. Okay, now we will, is Jennifer Hall here?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Jennifer. We'll go ahead and give you some time to present the next agenda item regarding Uinta Wax Pipeline right-of-way and temporary pad easements. Actually, Drew Ashley, you too. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn it only over to, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed your name on there, Drew, but you're welcome to pitch in however you like.
Yes. So my name is Jennifer Hall, and I work with Encore Land Services. We're contracted with Uinta Wax to work with the Roosevelt City on this pipeline agreement. The map, okay, let's see. What we need is, we're going to do a buried pipeline easement. It would be 50 foot in width for temporary, and then it would shrink down to 30 foot once that is put into place. So it's a little bigger until we can, until we can so we can lay the line, and then it will be 30 foot permanent. What we already have with you guys, this black line is a pipeline that we already have with you guys.
Is that a buried line?
Yeah, you know what, that one is surface right now.
Okay.
But I think they're going to bury it, but that's another agreement. We have, this quarter, we have a surface use agreement with Roosevelt City. So we already have actually, the right to go ahead and place the line, but and it's at $50 a rod per the surface use agreement. And so we just are gonna try to put this on the very edge, all the way to the north. And then we need a tiny bit more right here as we cross down into Ballard Water. And then the line will go across them, and then it comes onto you guys one more time on this little parcel. So the orange is what we need. And I'm just kind of making sure that that looks okay to you guys. And we do already have agreements in place, so you won't have to sign anything on the permanent pipeline. But we do need these two red squares too, and what those are is 100 by 100 foot workspace pads. So that's something you guys would have to sign. And we don't have an agreement in place for those, so we're offering $1,500 for each pad.
Paid.
And
Is that paid a one-time thing, or is that?
yes, sir, and within 30 days of construction.
And how long would those, roughly?
You know what, they're good for basically 5 or 6 months, that, and then it terminates.
It's a temporary pad, okay.
Temporary, and then we can discuss, if you want us to reclaim it or leave the flat space or whatever you guys want us to do on that. Do you have anything else, Drew? What are you thinking? I can see Drew's thinking.
It's not very often, sometimes. Can you scroll through those pictures, Ryan? Give a little bit clearer picture. On the corner of the entrance to the sewer lagoons, that will be a permanent little stretch of what they're looking to gain, and then the temporary easement. Yeah, keep going a little further. Right there. Yeah, right there. I believe. Yeah, that one. If you can zoom in on that.
You mean this line?
Yes, just that yellow spot there. I believe that's going to, Leslie
explained that needs to be a permanent that crosses the road, our main sewer line. We will need to get with Brian, our sewer manager, and get the depths of that line and just make sure we have the right coverage. I did talk with him about these areas. He didn't have concern only that area there,
Right.
just so we have enough coverage.
And Drew, that actually is the pipeline and that would be permanent,
Yes,
but the pad to
Yes, temporary.
bore,
Mhm.
yeah, to
Yep.
bore that.
so yeah, exactly. So we're looking for 2 temporaries and then the permanent easement going north and that little section right there.
That little,
And that's just 58 feet long, basically.
yeah, yes, 58.3.
Drew,
60
before you,
feet wide,
Uh,
reduced down to 30 after
right, it'll
construction.
be 50 feet wide to construct it and down to 30.
And that permanent right of way, is that gonna, do you reclaim those as if it's final reclamation, or do you?
They are maintained and everything, you know, is
So you-
basically put back together, but it's not necessarily reclaimed because that will, you know, be the right of way. When the line is, when they cease using the line, they would, you know, maybe reclaim seed and all that, but
Do you have like I'm sorry to ask so many questions, is there a weed control protocol that you follow
Yes.
to keep those
Yes.
maintained well? Okay.
yes.
Drew, I
Where,
just, oh, go ahead, Audrey.
where it goes through where the pivot is, does that limit the pivot at all, or is it?
No, it'll be on the far east boundary of our property line.
Yeah, we're hoping that there would be no disturbance of your best pivot. And if there is, it is written in the agreement that we would pay for any crop damage or anything like that.
Drew, have you been out to the site and seen it, and you feel good about it?
Yeah, I'm talking with Brian as well. Felt comfortable with only the crossing of our main sewer line and Kirby can attest. We just need to make sure we get the proper depths and separation from that.
So your recommendation is to approve contingent on getting with Brian
Yes.
on the sewer
Correct.
for the one piece?
Mhm. And we will be bringing another one next month probably.
Yes,
That would be going north of our future gun range, gun range.
yes,
But we'll wait for that on the next. I think they're doing surveying right now. They gave you
yes,
permission to survey. That'll be coming next month.
correct.
All right, let's give the mayor a second to speak.
That was going to be my question, because the last plat that I saw had a pipeline running across the north side of where we're gonna put the gun range, and so I'm glad you clarified that. I was just gonna ask if this was in lieu of that pipeline or if there's an additional one coming, but it sounds like these are 2 different projects.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just for your information, Mayor, I did reach out to Leslie on piggybacking with the Deseret easement and Moon Lake easement. They drew a hard line and said no. So they're going to try to survey right up to that boundary, their south easement boundary of Deseret, and see what that looks like. So they'll bring that back next month with their findings.
Okay, that would be great. I know that the Deseret power line, or the Deseret easement, it's 150 feet already into that field, and so we were bumping up against that easement with the gun range, and I just want to make sure that we have adequate room for that 1,000-yard range. And the only other concern that I have is I know we just barely put a little more fill on that road, and I know you're aware of that, Drew, where this pipeline, the current project, is going to cross. And you're talking about the depth of our line. That part of the reason we put the fill on is because that depth is not, it wasn't adequate, and I don't know that it still is, so there might be a need to bore under that line if possible.
So I believe that is the plan.
FYI.
Mhm. Yeah, I believe that is the plan, and those temporary pads that they're looking for would be their bore site to set up that infrastructure to bore.
Correct.
Perfect.
So do we have a contract that we're drafting with them to allow this with the money amounts?
Yes, we have contracts. We'll need the grant to review those contracts. If the council sees fit to move forward, we'll recommend approve based on grants review of the contracts.
I would move we approve based on Brian's check on the sewer and Grant's approval of the contracts. Does that work?
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, passes. Thank you. Okay, now Drew and Sierra, it looks like you guys are up for ordinance for Lone Tree annexation previously approved.
This is like the third time you brought this one
Third
up.
time's the charm. So this one, we have brought to you before for approval. You did approve. We did not have the ordinance number prepared for last meeting, so we're looking to approve with the proper ordinance in place so we can proceed at the next level of this annexation approval process.
So we've already approved this, it's just we need to approve, how do we approve it now?
Yes,
Are we just good with the motion? Okay,
approving the ordinance.
okay.
So I move we approve the ordinance for the Lone Tree annexation, number 2025-442. Does that help?
Perfect.
And I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks, Drew.
And you're not bringing this one back next month? Or next time?
You should have put that in your motion.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this one again, Drew.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Looks like Mayor Byrd and Sawyer Strait will present the next agenda item, Cedarview Montwell update.
Yeah, is Sawyer in the room?
Yeah,
Yes, he is.
step up to the podium, Sawyer.
Perfect, let me get my view a little larger so I can see. There we go. So, can you zoom in on that just a little bit, Sierra? I'm getting old, my eyes are not as good as they used to be. So, there are several things that we're working with Cedarview Montwell on right now, and Sawyer, correct me if I'm wrong on some of these or set me straight, but so there's several projects and several moving pieces that we're working with Cedarview on, and one of those is a pipeline that they're doing from the Victory Pipeline tank on the west side of Roosevelt. So they're going to construct a pipeline that goes north to connect into their system. We've given them a right-of-way through Teddy's Playground, so that's one of the moving parts that we've accomplished. A couple of other things that we're looking at, they need an agreement or an extension on an agreement to be able to bond for that project, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. And then a couple of things that have come before the council. Don, I know you're going to have to hear this again because it's come before the council before, but we're going to discuss it again, and that is the purchase of a pipeline that was recently constructed in the Charmel Acres area. And then we have one other piece to the puzzle where we have water, our water that comes from the Neola wells comes into Cedarview Montwell system at a tank north of Charmel Acres, and then we actually draw back out of their system on North Crescent, and there's a meter there. And so when we started pulling water through that infrastructure into that area, there was a verbal agreement to pay them $1 per 1,000. But that never happened. And so all of these things are kind of coming to a head now, and we've talked about and discussed many of these things, so I'm just bringing the council up to speed on what was discussed and where we're at and what we need to do to move forward. So we've negotiated with Cedarview Montwell that we will pay them $1 per 1,000 in arrears for the water that has been used in the North Crescent, through the North Crescent meter. And that is shown here. If you're looking at the screen, you'll see that on the third line item is $92,000. Now, for the purchase of the pipeline in Charmel Acres, the total agreed purchase price was $1,723,000. Roosevelt City participated in that pipeline. We asked for an upgrade and we paid for that upgrade, and we contributed $115,000 to that project. That's the second line item. Third line item, again, is the $92,000 that we agreed to pay in arrears, and the total then came out to $1.7 million. And so the council, we talked about this and we agreed that looked good, and the next step was to find out how much the loan was, because Cedarview Montwell has a loan on that project through CIB, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Jeff can correct me on that. But they do have a loan on that project, and so we wanted to know what the loan amount was, because Roosevelt City would assume that loan, and then Roosevelt City would then pay Cedarview Montwell the difference. And so, really quickly, Sierra, can you go to the spreadsheet, just a very simple spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Really quickly, let's stop here for 1 second.
Go back up.
So this sheet here is the sheet that they provided on their loan, what the loan balance was in the beginning, and I'm anticipating, because I'm guessing they would have made the payment in October 2024, that their balance is $698,000, plus whatever the interest has accrued since then. And so if you'll drop down to the next sheet. So this is what Roosevelt City, this is how it would shake out for us. The $1,723,000, the $115,000 credit that we get for our participation in that pipeline. The reason for the increase in the wheeling fees and that water in North Crescent is because we've used some in between the time we negotiated this previously and now. So that came out to about $5,840, and that'll continue to go up until this agreement is signed. Once the agreement's signed, that rate will decrease from $1 per thousand to 35 cents per thousand. And then you can see the loan amount that we will assume as Roosevelt City as part of the transaction, and anticipating it'll be around $698,000. Our obligation to Cedarview Montwell at that point would be $1,007,840. So Kirby has said that we have grant money that we need to use on a water project. We were going to use for a different water project, but this one looks like it would be most beneficial at this time for Roosevelt City. And there is $1 million that we can use in grant money to pay Cedarview Montwell for that additional, or for that $1 million, and be able to satisfy that. So are there any questions up to this point?
Ryan, can you show the map of where this is at, just in case somebody doesn't know what we're talking about? I know it was.
Oh, yes.
It was a previous page. It wasn't too far.
It's kind of
Right there.
map, but we'll work with it.
Yeah, another point of discussion as well is, so the outline in green was what we had came to Cedarview Montwell with initially. This section in red and that says not this is what we decided that's right, they should keep that. However, the section in green on the left-hand side, even the stuff that has the marks where it says not this, we negotiated with Cedarview Montwell that we would take that portion because those connections in that area come right off Roosevelt City's pipeline, and we have to do a water exchange, or reconciliation is a better way to put it there anyway. And so basically, where you see the dotted green line, the black and green, that's the infrastructure that we would take over, and at the top of that dotted green line is where the vault would be, and is located at this time. So that's the point of diversion. But anyway, so that's basically what we've negotiated with Cedarview Montwell. And so that's why this is coming before you at this time. The reason it stalled out before is we didn't know where we were going to come up with that $1 million to pay Cedarview Montwell. But since we've gotten that grant, and Kirby is Kirby there, by the way?
Yes.
Down here.
So Kirby, do you want to explain a little bit with that grant, where it's coming from and how it'll be applied to this?
Yeah, I can speak on it. So, this grant was given to us approximately probably 2.5 years ago. And we did have to pretty much rework, the plan of how we'd spend it. And through Jones and DeMille Engineering and Jeff Baker and myself, we had discussed this with the division, and they said that it was able to happen and we could use that money toward the purchase. So that's where it's coming from,
Okay.
the 2.8 originally.
Is there any infrastructure upgrades we'll have to make, Sawyer, in that area? Or Kirby, do you know of?
No, part of this will also include the line coming across from 121 up to the tank. And the other money will go toward fixing the existing tank. There's the top hatch and everything, which we've had points taken from us, correct?
Right, that was part of the reason.
That's part of it. And the line will connect and run down past our tank. Approximately, I'm not sure exactly the footage, but there'll be another 10 or 12 inch line laid. Is that correct? Is that what you remember?
But, so we're bypassing that tank so we don't get dinged on it, or we're gonna fix it?
No, we'll have a bypass available, but we are repairing the tank and we won't be dinged on it. So we need to keep it in use at this time.
Yeah,
One other thought, Kirby,
Yes.
and because I believe that vault, and I know Judy's there, I can't remember if we're gonna have to install our own valve and infrastructure there at the top of that line or not. I think that was a part of the discussion. So when Don asked if there's any upgrades, that may be something that we have to look at, is installing some infrastructure at the top of that
I think
line.
there's a valve there,
Okay,
Is that,
if I remember right.
okay,
I'm
so
thinking that there is.
I think,
There is a possibility.
I think it's a pretty good deal. Just wanna get this done. My only concern is if we run across something we didn't anticipate, or if we've looked at it where we feel pretty comfortable.
yeah, well, that vault connects into Cedar View Wells line, and we're gonna have to connect into our line, so there'll need to be some finite details worked out there, but it's not gonna be anything major.
No.
That I can foresee.
And the green area's they're already buying water from us, or are they paying Cedar View Well?
they're buying water.
Well, some of them are, so, I'm using my mouse and you guys can't see it, but on the left-hand side, which would be the west side, they're on our line, but Cedar View Well is collecting for it. The Charmel Acres North, I believe that's on Cedar View Well's line, and we would inherit that.
Okay. And that, of course, allows us for growth, especially on the south side, if there's any, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and it helps with our pressures on the hill. We talked about another project coming up over from 3000 West, which was a viable project as well, but we figured if we could get this infrastructure, it would satisfy the same thing. So it was kind of sixes for us, other than this helps eliminate some pinch points and water coming in and out of systems. So yeah, this will just eliminate 2 points of diversion for us where we have to keep track of water exchange and things like that. So
Sawyer,
it's a lot cleaner.
you haven't said much. Are you good with this?
The mayor's knocking it out of the park. Then I think the super nice thing about doing it this way is that we're going to be able to move away from having, like the mayor said, two spots of in and out. We have to manually calculate the differences, and then,
Right.
we have to get with state, and we have to get with division, and with the Duchesne County Water Conservancy District. And moving forward with this, it makes it a lot easier and a lot nicer that way. all we have to do is send one number out for reporting for, that side of the highway.
Okay, I have a question, but I don't know who will answer. Like, going forward on the loan, we're assuming those payments come from usage, or how are we paying for that going forward?
That would
Are
probably,
we paying the loan off, or are we?
yeah, we'd be paying the
We'd
loan
be
off,
paying the loan off.
assuming some of it, and then that'd be through usage and
So most of that money,
everybody else sees fit.
Well, and it may be something that we, either way, Audrey, we're gonna have to build a project in that area, and so, either way, we were going to have that obligation or that debt.
okay,
This way, we just assume, the debt that Cedar View Mont Well has versus going out and soliciting funding on our own and getting, whatever grant loan mix we could get on a different project.
And this is the 2.9 that we got, right? 2.8. So,
So there's connections that's in that area that will help pay that loan.
okay.
Yeah, there is some water usage that we will.
Yeah.
we will take over.
It might not cover all the costs, but it's
It
definitely
will
gonna
take
help.
up, it will take up
Right off the
a
bat.
good portion of it.
Great.
so what do we need from council tonight? Motion to.
So what we need from council tonight is a motion to move forward, because the next step is to have Zeke work with whoever's over the finances with Cedar View Mont Well, and go to the CIB and really get aggressive on getting this loan transferred over and this area transferred over to Roosevelt City. That's gonna be the next big hurdle, but we didn't wanna move forward until we represented this to council with, more accurate numbers and what Roosevelt City's obligation is going to be. So.
Well, based on recommendation, I would move we go forward with it. It looks like a good project. And it seems like it's a little less than what we've talked about in the past too, which I appreciate.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second it.
we have a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Hopefully you're catching
Yay.
who's making the motions and who's making the
Thanks,
seconds.
Mayor and Sawyer and Kirby and everybody.
Yeah, we do have one more thing that we have to address on here, and this is part of that. There's several moving pieces, and the last thing is where Cedar View Mont Well is building and laying infrastructure. They're needing an agreement from us stating that we would provide water through construction and several different things, but we currently have an agreement with Cedar View Mont Well in an exchange. Basically, we've committed 100 acre feet back in 2008 or 2009, I believe, of our well water up in Neola. And then that was modified later on in about 2015, if I remember correct, maybe even 2010 in an exchange rate. I'm getting some dates wrong. Anyway, in an exchange, because Cedar View Mont Well has 100 acre feet of water in the Victory Pipeline, but they haven't been able to utilize that up to this point. So we've exchanged water, so we've obligated another 100 acre feet from the wells in Neola in exchange for their 100 acre feet through the Victory Pipeline that we can use. And so that's been something that we've exchanged this whole time. So the project that they're currently working on, that we gave them a right of way through Teddy's Playground for, is to be able to utilize their own 100 acre feet of water through the Victory Pipeline system. So what they're asking is an extension of that agreement or something, kind of a requirement for their bond to be able to get the loan for that project, and they're kind of waiting on that. But I spoke with Grant, and he visited with their legal counsel, and I think we've got a pretty good strategy moving forward, but it will take a little bit of time. Well, there's a couple options, so I'll just turn the time over to Grant and have him kind of explain what we've talked about and what we think is a good solution in this point in time. So Grant, if you take over.
Okay, so nothing's finalized yet. The conversation that I had with Gail McCackney ended just a few minutes before this meeting. started, but we're looking at a couple of different options. There's the 2009 agreement, a 2010 agreement, the 2015 agreement, and a 2018 agreement. And those are the ones that I've seen so far. If there's more out there, I still need to review them. I'm seeing some contradictions in the agreements that I would like to fix at the same time. And the waters are getting a little bit muddy with how many agreements are already out there and now needing to do, we're looking at basically 2 more if we kept everything on separate agreements. So one option, and I'm gonna prepare this and send a copy over to Gail. He's gonna review it and make sure that it doesn't create any bonding problems for the district, but I would like to consolidate all of those into one agreement by taking all of the active provisions of all of the agreement dates that I just said, incorporating them into one that would supersede the agreements. The language in each agreement right now says that they do not supersede the prior agreement, but then they're making modifications to it. They're hard to follow right now. Gail, without seeing a copy of what I prepared, isn't sure if it would create any issues with current bondholders or on the new bond. And if it is, then we may have to do something a little bit different. The other alternative that we would have tonight is Gail had prepared a pipeline usage agreement. As I've reviewed it, I see some contradictions with what we're trying to do and pointed those out to Gail. We could make some modifications to this, but the way it's been explained to me is that the purpose of this agreement is really trying to bridge a gap and ensure the bond issuer that there is water available, which the city, I believe, is going to want to try to accommodate Cedar View in that. But we're not wanting to allocate water unnecessarily and kind of have it locked up from the city's perspective. And so we think that there should be a corresponding, provisions in there where there could be reductions in the water that's coming from the city. Partly offset by the Victory Water Pipeline. And if we're able to finalize an agreement on Charmel Acres, then there might be an offset for that as well. If there was a termination provision in the agreement that Gail already prepared, it's probably something that the city could handle if that's what needed to be done to move forward on the current bond. I know there was a current bonding date or closing date on the bond of May 15th, if I'm remembering correctly. That's for Roosevelt, it would be tough to meet, but not necessarily impossible. If the council were to approve the agreement that Gail had prepared with the change of a termination provision being added for the city, and which would basically say that the city could give 1 year notice and terminate this agreement, which is in I think the 2015 agreement. I saw it in, I don't remember on the others, but it's only for Cedar View to be able to give notice in the agreement that it's coming from. In my conversation with Gail, Jeff, you might know better if you think that the May 15th date is realistic. I know that Gail was scrambling trying to have everything. I told him that I was concerned about whether or not I could have everything.
I would say it's optimistically realistic. So it might not be able to meet it, but we're trying for that.
Your next meeting, I think, is the 20th, is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we wouldn't be meeting here again until after that, which would mean we couldn't review another version which was trying to consolidate all of the agreements into one. The only option that I would see where the city could be ready is if you were to approve the agreement already prepared by Gail, but specify that there would be a termination provision. And when I talked to Gail, it was last minute, obviously, for him. He didn't know whether that's something that would work with the current bond or not.
I think the current bond, all we need is to have the extension of the water to the end of the loan that we have, that we would be getting, and that's what we need.
And that,
And I think that all the other stuff we could do after, if we had that agreement for that water.
well, but that's the one that we're saying that we would want a termination provision for the city, and he wasn't sure if that was something that would be approved.
Right, it might not be.
Yeah, Gail didn't know yet. But that's all that I see that we could do to try to help if you think you're gonna be on the May 15th deadline. If it were to get pushed, then, Gail, I would have time to prepare, Gail would have time to review a new proposed agreement, and it would give us some time to try to work things out for the meeting here on the 20th.
So I have a question for Jeff and Judy. Jeff, if it doesn't meet the May 15th, when is the next meeting for the bonding agency?
We would just have to schedule it whenever we thought it would be reachable.
Okay, and Judy, you had mentioned that you just needed the water until the end of until the project's finished?
Until so we can secure that loan, is what it is.
The length of the loan.
The
Yeah,
length of the loan,
Which is through, I believe, 2065, JR.
I think that's what it is. So we need the water,
So-
that's what it is for.
yeah, so the water, so did you contract with Roosevelt City? Because the water comes from Victory Pipeline, which would be Duchesne County Water Conservancy District, correct?
Right, but they're wanting it from Roosevelt as well. That's what they want, JR. I don't know
Okay.
I don't know why.
What Gail had told me, JR, is that it's bridging a gap. They just want to know that there will be water available through 2065, but it's not requiring both. I think it was the 100 acre feet originally from the city, and then once the Victory Pipeline water, once Cedarview Montwell had direct access to get the Victory Pipeline water into their system without going through Roosevelt's, this probably would no longer be necessary. But in order to close on the bond, they're wanting reassurance that they would still be able to get it through the Roosevelt system through 2065. And so I think that what the city and Cedarview Montwell are trying to accomplish, I think we're on the same page. It's the bondholder that's a little bit off in what they want. But if we were to put in the termination provision, that would get the city what we needed to end it before 2065, but it would be on good faith that we wouldn't be terminating it before the Victory Pipeline water was going directly into the Cedarview system.
Do you know what year it terminates as it sits now?
I think this was a 30-year extension.
No, it is 40.
Was it 40?
So I wanna say it's 40,
2058
something like that, I think.
or 2048. So really quickly though, and this is where I think it's gotten a little muddy, Grant, and maybe because the original agreement had the 100 acre feet from Cedarview Montwell, or from the Neola wells.
Right.
And then it also incorporated the extra 100 acre feet that was the exchange. And so I'm wondering if they only need the 100 acre feet that was originally contracted and not necessarily the 100 acre feet that was used for the exchange. And I think that's why it would be nice to clean it up, because if that's the case, that's not a big deal to contract the original 100 acre feet out till 2065. That's not a big deal. It's the extra 100 acre feet in question that once they have a pipeline, Roosevelt City doesn't want to have a block of water that's 100 acre feet sitting there we really can't utilize because it's obligated to Cedarview Montwell, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's what we're working on right now. So maybe we need to get with the bond council and just make that clarification possibly, and I think this would be a lot simpler, but I think that may be a directive we could get from the council tonight, that if it is just that 100 acre feet that was originally contracted, that we go ahead and sign that. But if it were to include the additional 100 acre feet for the exchange, then we'll have to look at that a little differently. But Because I think that's the pinch point overall. It's not the original 100 acre feet, it's the 100 acre feet exchange.
That's correct. The current agreement, though, is talking about the exchange water. And when I talked to Mr. McCackney, he was saying he didn't think that is necessary long-term, but that's what his understanding was required to do the bond closing. And so that's why he and I had discussed the possibility of a termination provision where Roosevelt could give notice and end it after 12 months. But again, there just hasn't been time for that to be reviewed to see if that's gonna work or not.
Is there, I mean, for me, it feels like we're just not quite ready to, I mean, if we have to pull the trigger, we can, I guess, but it feels like you guys need a chance to work some things out.
We are trying to push it through quickly because of the currently set bond closing date. Ideally, we would have until after the Roosevelt City Council meeting on the 20th, and Mr. McCagney and I would work through a lot of these issues and try to clean it up. But if that's the route we take, then regardless of whether Mr. McCagney finished his other work, they wouldn't be ready. Sorry, did you say something, JR?
Yeah, I sorry I interrupted you. I was just gonna say that we could hold a special meeting maybe a week from today, if that would give us adequate time to look over those things. Do you think you and Gail could sort through some of those things by, the 13th?
We could try. That's still pretty tight, but we could try. I've got
that's another option,
agreement.
just to give us a little extra time to work through a few of those things, to get that done. We could convene a special meeting to vote on that one item, if you thought that was adequate time.
I have a working draft, but based on the conversation I had with Mr. McCackney this afternoon, I need to make some revisions to it. But that's probably realistic that we could be ready in a week on this piece of it.
Right. I'm just a little concerned about rushing into something and not having, everything lined up. And
I'm in the same boat. I am in the same boat with you. I feel we need to get it straightened out.
Right, exactly. That's my whole point. Let's make sure it's done right.
Right.
And I know you got the issue with the bond on the 15th.
Jeff, when do you think you'll know whether the 15th is gonna happen or not? Aside from this.
Well, by the end of the week, definitely.
So if you know by the end of the week, then we could schedule, how much time do we need leave? I mean, we could schedule it now for next week as a tentative, and then if we know by the end of the week, we could say yay or nay if we need to meet. And if you can push it back and help us get a little more time for the attorneys and everybody to get their ducks in a row, let's make sure we do it right so we don't rush in and have issues and have to come back anyway.
Exactly.
I would rather do that, and I'm just not real interested in the cancellation provision or the termination provision and approving the one tonight. So that's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Whatever we got to do and I'd rather get it right the first time personally, but.
If you can check on that and then let us know, we can plan the meeting for next Tuesday. If you can give us a little more time to the 20th, then we can, not have it. And then if, does that work, Sierra, for meeting schedule if we have a special one next week just for this issue? Okay.
So do we need anything from the council, or are we just gonna move forward as discussed?
I don't think we need anything by way of motion or anything tonight. We'll see, depending on whether or not the bond closing is gonna happen on the 15th, whether we need to meet next Tuesday or not.
Okay.
All right.
I'm good with that. I feel better about that. I hope that works for you guys too. We want to get it right the first time.
Okay, thank you.
And
Go ahead, Mayor.
Judy, in between now and then, on the other stuff, if you'll and we can even come to your meeting next time, but the numbers that we talked about for the purchase of that pipeline and a few things, if you just want to double check with your members and make sure that that's adequate, but then we can get working on how we take over that loan. And I just have one other question. I'm just wondering why Aaron is so smiley in the back.
I'll explain later.
I'm just kidding. It's a pretty good view from up here.
In San Francisco?
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I think we've made good progress on that. Hopefully we can keep that going and everything will work out as we are hoping for. So let's move on to the next agenda item. I believe it is JUB agreement for signature, Kirby Wolfinger.
Hello, yes. Council. So I'm here tonight, last council meeting, we had Kimberly Sylvester that attended for the signatures for the agreements. And, at that time, Grant Charles hasn't had a chance to review, and he has now, and there's no revisions. Just asking for the approval for the signatures for these agreements.
So Mayor, do we need to vote on a pro tem to sign, or what do we need to do on this?
Yeah, I think it's just to approve. It's something that's already been presented. I think it was a meeting that I was not.
Right, we approved it last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, they're ready to sign and we just need to make sure that I'm okay to sign.
Yeah, or where you were
I think it's just a
already-
double.
Since I was mayor pro tem last time, I could sign this one?
Yeah, where Don was the mayor pro tem, mayor, I would just have him go ahead and sign it, because the approval actually came in the last meeting.
Okay, well I think I might have it digitally on my phone, so either way.
Oh, if you can sign it, that's
If you
fine.
can sign it and email back, that's great, Mayor. I'm okay with that. They just want to get moving on it, and so sooner than later is all.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't think we need any motion or anything. We've already approved it. It's just getting it
Right,
signed.
it just needed for me to review it, so this is just updating you that I have, and there's no recommendation.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kirby. Okay, Ryan Claiborne. We have you on here for Cottonwood Creek Trail signage design proposal. And is Avid Trails here?
No.
Okay.
No, Avid Trails is not here. Just to give you a quick update, the Utah Outdoor Rec grant that we applied in 2024, part of that funding was for wayfinding on the trail system. So that's kind of why this is coming into play right now so we do have budget for it, if that is a question for you. And I've reached out to several different companies, and they just, this one kept coming back to home, and they're nationwide, but they have an office in Park City, and one thing that they did was we were able to customize for what our needs was. A lot of the companies would actually design and build the trails, but we just want to have the wayfinding done and the pretty stuff, and we don't need any other help on that. On the ground type stuff. So anyway, Avid Trails in their proposal with the trail signage planning, and these are just samples of different. If you just scroll around, Brock, they're just different samples of different areas and projects they've done. So they kind of cater to what we want to do. And so what they told me is, let's connect our whole town. Let's get the parks, the library, the aquatic center, the golf course, and our Cottonwood Creek Trail system all tied together. And it would have marquee maps, mile markers, color coordinated. If you were to put on races or whatever, you can do a loop or whatever. Kind of customized to what we want to do. And that's kind of what I like about them. And
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so for wayfinding, is that them kind of figuring out where the trails ought to be and stuff like that, or
We'll already have the trails set in place with the committee. We've already,
wayfinding is signage?
The
it
main,
is the signage and directions, and
Okay,
so when you're on the trail and you're at a intersection, let's say, and you wanna know how far it is to the golf
makes
course,
sense, yep, okay.
it'll let us know, and so they'll do that. They'll do the signage itself, designs. If you wanna click on that Bay Creek one, that's just one of them. Just kind of go down a little bit further, down, keep going down. There's like, I think, samples of, the actual signs themselves.
Okay,
Keep going, like right there. That's kind of a sample of what they can do. They can design anything we want, really. I like these only because we already put posts like that in the ground. Kind of convenient, so it just slides over. They told me they put them like that now, kind of, because if they're hanging out past, kids tend to high five them and they band up and,
less surface area to mess up.
yeah.
So they also do like these kind of things where they show the whole map and,
Yep.
and you are here kind of thing too.
Yep, they'll put them at the trailheads. We put them wherever we want. We just, whatever we request for them to do, so. And they really love the nature park. When I sent them a map of the nature park, they kind of got all giddy about it and stuff. And I said, no, I gotta wait, so. Anyway, but that's some of the things that they can do, and if we want to expand or do and add to it, we can. They're pretty flexible, so.
So what's the lifespan of their signs, and do they have like a plan where they can, if we make upgrades, modify some of that, or is it kind of all just planned right at the beginning and?
No, that's a good question, because I told them that the Cottonwood Creek Trail Loop, that we really don't want signs out yet because we don't have commitment on right-of-ways and stuff, but what we do have, we can, and they're more than willing to update the maps for us, so.
Okay.
As we go, as we build. They do that all the time, they said in phases, so.
Great.
Good question.
And lifespan, I'm guessing they give them a kind of a 10-year life cycle or something like
On the
that?
signage?
Yeah.
Or
do they just?
They prep it all and then they get it ready for print, basically.
Okay.
So this cost here is just for all the design.
Okay.
And the mapping, the GIS. They'll even help us get it on all trails, so it's out there,
Okay.
in the apps and stuff, so.
Great.
So where it's a work in progress, would you just have them do like the nature park and what we have done so far with?
So right now, we could do phase 2 and the nature park and then connect it in downtown. And I know the mayor mentioned one time we want to have trails go through town to connect to the library and the aquatic center and the parks and stuff, so we can get all that done.
Okay. And we would install, we'd print and install their stuff and then
Yeah.
keep it on our end? Okay.
Yeah. And they've got recommendations of companies that do signage all the time, but this is mainly for the design and.
Perfect.
So. And what the proposal is $14,500.
Which you have budget for.
Yeah. Yeah. Our 4th round in the Utah Outdoor Rec was 200,000. So we do have enough in the budget to do this as well.
That's great.
I tried to do it on my own and it just was overwhelming, and as far as marking the distance, and I just think it would have been a lot of time to put in there, and I don't think I can do it for that much, so. And I have spoken with Jeremy and Aaron Averett with Sunrise Engineering, and they recommend as well going this route, but it's a lot cleaner, so.
Okay. That was going to be a question of mine, is would a local engineering firm have interest in something like this? But they're not specialists at this, so I don't know.
Yeah, we know the trail design, but yeah,
No.
You want
the
to
trail.
tell them what Aaron
signs.
says?
Oh, no, you were about to say it before it.
I don't want to, it's all right. Engineers are not, they don't make it look pretty,
They're not
they just do the.
Or, yeah,
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah, I did ask Aaron about that, and he's like, no, I think you better go another direction, so.
Okay.
Well, based on your recommendation, I move we approve. I think it looks good, so.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and floor is still yours.
Okay,
For
the next
Cottonwood
thing
Creek. Go
on
ahead.
the agenda is the asphalt bids. This is for phase 2. I have all the bids right here in my hand if you wanna look at them. What we propose as staff and the committee, that we go with All Red Paving. Their bid came in at $201,532.50. Scott is the one that was awarded the bid to pave the nature park as well. One little difference in this one, and remind me, Jeremy, if I forget something, is that we're going 10 feet wide instead of 8.5, where it's gonna be a trail connecting into town and everything with bikes or whatever. We felt that we needed that extra 1.5 foot width on it. And the right of way will allow us to do that as well. So this is a 10-foot wide pavement trail. And to get kind of a comparison, that's most of them, how they are around Provo Canyon and St. George and whatnot. They're all 10 foot, so.
So that's so it's 3,800 feet basically.
Yeah, it will pave, it will finish the trail all the way from 121, which is by the golf course turnoff, and it'll be paved all the way to Strata Networks on 300 North.
Okay.
And our goal is to have it paved by September 12th. 11th.
So this year. That was
Yeah,
good.
we want to have a race on it, right, Aaron?
Yes. All right, any other comments or
We used
thoughts?
All Reds, you said last time, right?
Yeah.
And
we
they did a
did.
good job on that
Yeah.
one. Based on your recommendation, I move we approve. We have budget for it, I assume?
Yeah.
Mayor has a comment?
Mayor Bird, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I was just gonna quickly ask, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but the painting from the subdivision, golf course subdivision over to the walking path and further, is that still planned for this year possibly?
Yes, it is. We actually are gonna put it in the bid with, Kirby's crew on painting the roads, so we can get a cheaper bid on it. So when he paints his roads is when we'll get the trail painted as well. I don't know which one to look at either. I'm going back and forth.
Straight off screen.
That sounds good. There's only one section on 1000 West that we're gonna have to look at, and then I think we're golden until clear down to Dry Gulch.
Right.
Cool.
That is correct.
Okay, I moved we approve, go forward.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Looks like we have the preliminary budget with Zeke Atwood, our finance director. Or
I'm gonna introduce it real quick and then turn it over to Zeke. So council, we're pleased to present to you the fiscal year 26 tentative budget. As you know, the tentative budget is our starting point, and statutorily we're required to approve that this meeting. One thing I do want to emphasize on this is, one, we have some of the most incredible department heads and staff that there are. This has been an incredibly challenging year to budget, knowing the curiosities that are going on with the federal government. I am extremely optimistic. I have full confidence that we are going to end this year on a very positive note. However, that being said, we are taking an extremely cautious approach as we're trying to make sure that we take care of the necessary things that we need to do and get the projects that have to be done. That being said, we work with department heads a lot, shooting towards a flat budget. We do have a slight increase that we are projecting this year, but department heads have been really good at reevaluating their budget over and over and over to reduce the things that they do not need to have a realistic budget. So they've been phenomenal. The other thing I'd like to say is, this being the tentative budget, Mr. Atwood will be reaching out to each council member to schedule an individual meeting where he and I will meet with you individually go over every single line item, so when we get to our budget workshop, you are fully informed and fully aware of everything that's in the budget. And that way, if you have a question, not only can we get the answer, but we can bring it to the budget workshop, because likely someone else will have that question as well. We've gone over a lot of these numbers with our department heads, but we have scheduled meetings with individual department heads to go over every single line item with them as well, because we want to make sure that it is a budget that everybody feels comfortable that we can get what we are requesting. As of right now, at the tentative budget, we were able to add in every request. There's been a couple of employees that have been requested. Those are in here. Those are not being presented tonight for final approval, though this is just the tentative budget. So in the budget workshop, we'll break down into the nitty-gritty of each individual item. But we are proposing approximately a $12 million general fund budget with $7 million towards capital projects this year. The capital projects, that's a little bit less than we've done previous years. We want to make sure that we're not dipping into our savings. With the $12 million budget, we are also proposing not to pull anything out of our capital projects or our reserves. We will be using a little bit of the revenue from our enterprise funds, but we are operating without pulling anything out of savings. So that being said, I will turn the time over to Mr. Atwood, our finance director, and I would like just to point out, I know this is his first time presenting on the upcoming budget, but he has been phenomenal. And incredible as he is, I will tell you, Excel is one of my favorite things on earth. I use it all the time. I have found out that I know absolutely nothing when it comes to Excel. He is a genius. But he has been extremely phenomenal, so please, questions, and he's phenomenal.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Council. Good to be here. As Josh stated, we're here presenting the preliminary budget, and as he said, it's very preliminary. Not that a lot of work hasn't gone into it so far, but I would echo what he said. The departments have been great at being very responsible with funds. You can tell that they care a lot about the city and are responsible with how they allocate their funding. And as he said too, I'm going to reach out to you and we'll set up appointments so we can answer questions individually, and we can get into the line items if you want. This is a very high level view of the budget where it's sitting right now, and it's still in a work in progress. So far right now, I'll just go through and read the department proposed. And as you can see, Josh mentioned, we tried to keep that fairly flat from last year to this year. So council, as it proposed, FY26 proposed at $355,557. The courts, $176,000. Admin department, $1,128,320. Admin services at $739,975. Public safety, $4,364,250. Public works, $1,096,950. Parks, $1,015,470. Rec department, $2,594,209. The non-departmental, which is your one-time expenditures, is $250,000 with a subtotal of $11.7 million. We have $290,000 of debt service, and then as Josh mentioned, we'll bring that $1.3 million from the water fund, which will bring us to the $12,010,731 currently proposed budget. Below there just a little bit, we've got the capital projects. As Josh mentioned, we have set aside to do $7 million in capital project funds. Last year we did 9.1. We asked all the departments to put together a 1-year list and a 2 to 5 year list, partly as a planning tool so we can see what they want to do now versus in 2 to 5 years. And what we received from them was $5.5 million in the 1 year requested and $8.7 million in the 2 to 5 year requested. So we had a total requested in capital projects of $14.2 million. So it's about half of what we have set aside. So that's an overview of that. And like I said, we'll get together and we can dive into anything particular that you want to, and look at any line item that you want to, and go from there. So
we are projected to, in revenues, bring in 12 million as well. So this is a flat budget, basically.
So we're actually projecting to bring in the 10.7, and then we're going to use that 1.3 from the water fund, enterprise fund.
Okay.
That's
all right. Thanks.
Is there no projected budget for the cemetery?
For the upcoming year, we moved cemetery under parks.
Oh,
So we can utilize the staff of both places. Our parks are growing, so it's been moved out of admin services, but it is now under, parks, under their general fund.
That was my question, and you said the insurance increase was already included in this. What about employee raises or whatever, is that also included in this?
Yes, so for the upcoming year, we are proposing a 2% COLA, CPI is 2.8, and then one step increase for all eligible employees. And not every employee is eligible, so just, yeah, and those are separated out. July would be the COLAs, and then January would be the steps for eligible employees. So we know we've been a little aggressive the past couple of years, we're trying to pull that back a little bit.
Thank you.
We need to get lots of activities coming to the city so we can earn more money, right?
And one thing we really would like to know with the capital projects, these are the ones that we proposed with department heads. We will give council a list of all proposed capital projects because we want to make sure you are up to date on everything that our departments are thinking of. So that will be in our individual meetings, so that list very much could change. The 7 million is based off some of the ones that we've gone through that we know have to happen.
Okay, thank you.
And when do you anticipate those meetings, Zeke?
Probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, that's great.
We have to have it done by the end of June.
Right.
And so our budget meeting will be the first week of June?
The last
Working meeting
one.
budget.
Second.
The last of June, we have to approve it
Okay.
unless we get it done earlier, but
Okay. June second.
At our next meeting, we will need to set up a date for the budget workshop.
Okay.
Yes.
thank you for all your work.
Yeah, and I think this process you've laid out for this is going to work real good, and I think it'll get everyone's input, and hopefully we'll be able to find common ground between all of us and find a good budget that works. So thank you for all that work. That's a lot of work. Okay.
We do need a motion on this to approve the tentative.
Okay.
We need a motion to approve the tentative budget.
Yes.
I move we approve the tentative budget.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay,
I would move we approve the expenditures and financials. I just passed those down. I didn't see any issues.
And I'll second it.
have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, expenditures passed. Let's, I guess we're on to the city manager report, so.
Well, the one thing I'd like to just echo one more time, our departments have been phenomenal to work with during this budget process. Again, I can tell you this year budgeting for municipality has been more difficult than COVID years because there's potential for extreme growth and potential for extreme deficits. So it's been a very unique year and departments have been phenomenal to work with, so they've been great. Are there any questions for me?
No?
Last thing I'll report, May 20th, we have a service project that we are doing with Strata Networks. We'll get some more details on that, but one thing we did as staff is we got some matching t-shirts that we're gonna hand out to all employees that go and work at these service projects. And they will keep the t-shirts, but it'll be a yearly basis, so when we do big service projects like this, Strata does the same thing, and it's such a great thing. People will know, oh, that's Roosevelt City out there doing those, so. We do have those t-shirts. Council's absolutely welcome to come join us.
What time?
I don't think we have a time
No, it's
yet.
not set yet, but it'll be the 20th morning, I would say 9 a.m.
And that is a council meeting day, we do understand that, but it'll be during the day.
And what are we doing?
We are putting decorative rock on the east and west side of the sports complex between the grass line and the walking path. And it'll go all the way to the east entryway and also the west entryway. So it'll be between the grass and the rock. So we can help keep weeds down and it'll look a lot better too. So it'll be between the trees and walking path.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for planning that too.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
All right, committee reports. Do we have any reports?
I went to APR. There is interest in doing a citywide scavenger hunt. Wayne Underwood has been kind of pushing. I know he's met with the mayor on that. Unfortunately, APR did not have a quorum, so they weren't able to do any business, but that was discussed, and then the piano as well, which I asked them to come and present to council on that, which will be at the next meeting, so. And then we also did a citywide cleanup with the House of Hope and I don't know if it's citywide, but we went around the Interfaith Council, and we went around the walking path. We trimmed some of the trees. I don't know if Dustin noticed, picked up trash, got some of the trees growing up in the trees, the little ones picked up and stuff. So appreciate Interfaith Council, House of Hope coming and setting that up and organizing that.
That's great. It's great to hear those kinds of things happen around the community, and appreciate those who are doing that. Anything else as far as committee reports? I don't have anything. Okay. Is there any items for future discussion?
I don't think so. We don't need a closed session.
One thing for future discussion, next council meeting, if you can, please make sure you're here. We're gonna do our OPMA training. And Grant has some responsibility training for department heads and council. We're gonna do it all in one meeting.
Okay.
One meeting.
I'll be here, so.
One meeting. One meeting.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any reason to go into closed session tonight? Nothing tonight, okay.
I would move we adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.